What's up, guys? It's Joshy J. Today, I'm going to go through some character design tips that I kind of think are very, very relevant to when you're building a character, or you're doing concept art for a character, or even if you're doing like an illustration for a character. So this is more about like linking storytelling and character design and how it fuses together and how they kind of complement each other. So yeah, what you're seeing going on in the background is it's like a cyborg rebel robot ninja girl thing, and I actually did a whole bunch of robot designs. I inked them, and then I decided to choose this one because I don't know, she had the most interest. I think it was those ass plates. But yeah, so I chose this one. I don't know, I haven't seen anything too close to this, so I figured it would be a good one to kind of explain what I think about when I'm doing like a character design. So you can see I've kind of set her in an environment here. It's not too specific, but you know that she's in some cyborg type of a place. And also I think, putting the dramatic lighting in front of her really kind of like illuminates her and pops her forward. So when you're thinking about like a character design, you want to kind of think of like, why is this character the way it is? So why does she look the way she looks? And if there's like kind of tears on the pants, like why will there be a tear there? Or why will there be a cut in the pants there? Like, so each and every element in your painting. So this is kind of more of an illustration type of a thing, but you still want to kind of think of the storytelling element when you're doing it. And that actually comes first, and your execution and your style, that basically tags along with you along the way. So a lot of the stylization choices, like one of the things that I learned just on a side note with the stylization part of this is like, you'll see that I've got that, I kind of will take like a lighter color of my flat color and go around the shape, and then add like a very thin dark line around it, and kind of fade it into the background color. So you'll see with that belt, it looks like that, and a lot of those metal plates. And I find that works quite well with metal. If you want to get like a kind of a worn away metal type of a look, I find that works really, really well. So yeah, I also decided to add an alarm button there, just to kind of articulate that this might be like a tense moment. So it might be, so when you're creating like the storytelling part for illustration type stuff, is like you want to try and create like almost like a moment in time. I remember studying this type of stuff with like a lot of traditional art. Like you'll notice that it almost feels like they just captured the moment as if it's happening like right now, and you kind of want your illustration to feel like the whole world just like paused at that moment, and that has so much weight and so much storytelling in that moment. And a lot of the solutions, like a lot of the times I'll hear people here like, well, how do I know what the character's doing? How do I know where she is? How do I know like where she's going, where she's been, who her father is and her mother and whatever? And a lot of the times, like the solutions for all that is your story that you've developed for the character. And you kind of want to ask yourself, see, like a lot of stories are very, very logical. So if you're asking yourself like the very logical questions of how a story plays out, you find like a lot of answers for these types of questions. So this is actually really interesting. So I went into Blender just to switch it up to kind of get a lot of I'm building basically this weapon for her. So it's kind of this like axle thing with like a metal thingy with a handle. I was more just playing around in Blender with the shaders. So you can see this form is very, very basic. And then another tip on another side note is if you click the freestyle line, I know a lot of people have done tutorials on this, but if you use the freestyle line and you just crank up the thickness, then you can just get basically the line work for whatever form you're doing, and it's quite cool because it works out like a lot of the perspective for you. I've actually been doing that a lot lately, even like in the environment design with the game that I was building with my team. It's called Reset Earth, by the way. So yeah, I'll leave a link in the description to that. but yeah, anyway, so like a lot of even the stylization choices, the storytelling choices, like in the dings, in the weapons that I have. So it's maybe like this girl is almost like as if she's breaking out of this prison, and now there's like a lot of dings in her weapons and like cuts in her weapons because she's been fighting all these bad guys, all these cyborg dudes. And if it was very pristine, clean metal, it might tell a completely different type of a story. Also, another thing worth thinking about is like, what type of story does your style articulate as well? Like I use a lot of textures because I want things to feel very grungy, but I know a lot of artists don't use that, and that's totally cool. It's like really interesting for me as well. I don't do that kind of a thing, but it's still quite interesting to kind of see how they would articulate it. And yeah, I mean, the more you explore the type of story that your style starts telling, the more you start to figure out like the type of stories that you do want to tell as well. Like style for me is a whole topic, and I think. Hey, Mom. Yeah, style would tell like a whole different story, a lot about you as well. And when you're leaving like a legacy or whatever behind, your style tells a lot of it, and you can learn a lot about someone just by the way that they are doing art. So you can see that this girl has these kind of peg things in her hair, and I was doing some research on like what ninjas wear and those type of things, and a lot of so that's why I wanted to lean more towards like a cyborg ninja type of a feel. So that's why I added that in there. And like doing research for the type of look of the story that you're telling is extremely important, because a lot of stylistic choices have come from real world influences, so real world ways of executing these type of things. And yeah, so another personal thing that I like doing, you can see this red glow there on her back. Like you can see her whole armor kit is like this it's very, very orange. Everything in there is quite orange, and then just adding that red glow on her back just makes things pop. And if you do that for a lot of your paintings and stuff, it makes it really, really interesting to look at, because you have this one like focal point which is right there on her back. In this piece, I actually decided to change her face and her hair. I still actually think this one looked better than the one that I finally ended up with. So yeah, what you'll notice is like so this is where I start to like change the face. But with the shoulder plates, you can get away with a lot of cheating, or I kind of call it cheating, is like you design the front shoulder plate just to describe the form and to describe the shape. And then the back one that's kind of fading into the back, you kind of just, because you've articulated the shape in the front, you can kind of get away with just generally drawing the shape in the back. You don't need to kind of detail everything out. So a lot of the art that I do is like very high impact, and I think studying like your favorite artists, you kind of learn these tricks along the way. And whatever it might be, I know a lot of realism artists would learn totally different things, and that's totally cool. You should definitely follow the type of tricks and the type of things that makes their art, your favorite artist's art, look really cool. And there's kind of no way to bypass this except for, like, I remember I went over my favorite artist's work like over and over and over again, just like dissecting how they did what they did, and to the point where, I mean, it's really good to actually kind of do master studies of your favorite artists, because then you figure out how they're doing what they do, and you figure out like how they make their things look really interesting. and so yeah, like a lot of the, like for example, one of the cool things that I learned was like grouping shadows. Like it's sometimes like a very obvious thing, but like just grouping your shadows changed the game for me, because you can like designing the shadows and designing the light shapes like makes things look so much more interesting. Also, another interesting point is like I started using the smudge brush tool, which is very cool because it gives you a really painterly type of a look. And you can see I've actually painted that backlight to kind of come on the side of those weapons to like pop them forward. So everything feels like it's popping way out. And a lot of the time you can actually get away with grouping a lot of the shadows that are falling back. So a lot of the shadows that are fading away from the light, you basically draw you'd paint out the shape of it, and then you would kind of detail where the light is. I know a lot of stylization choices you can do that. In regards to hair, yeah, I like to do very like spiky hair. So when you're doing like a character, you kind of want to choose what type of hair your character is going to have to articulate the story best. So a lot of the times, like when you're doing illustration stuff like this, whatever says best, whatever articulates the story best is probably what you should choose. And these are just like breakaways that I'm doing for more story. So if I were to give this to like a 3D modeler, basically, I would they would have the front view to kind of articulate this with. So once I've established all the story elements in this little illustration that I have on the side, then I can kind of do breakaways for the modeler to build. So the cool part about being a concept artist is like you get to be a storyteller, and you get to do some sort of art direction in it as well, and kind of suggestions as well. Like whether you get commissioned to do one thing, you get to kind of add your own type of story elements very subtly in the mix as well. So one thing that I actually didn't even cover in this video was talking about skins as well. I didn't actually do skins for this character. I kind of just did one iteration, front view and like a back view mood shot, and some of the callouts of the weapons. But a lot of game companies want skins. Like all the gamers will know, like there's a lot of different types of skins for one character, and those type of artists actually get the most jobs, because if you can create variations and different skins for characters, you kind of just plug them into the game engine and they work. So a lot of the companies need that type of a thing. And if you can love to do that, if you can really enjoy doing that, like creating skins for characters, you'll probably end up getting a lot of jobs. And there's a lot of workshops out there that cover skins. I've taken a few, and they're great to do. Basically what happens is like a lot of game companies they'll have all of their geometry, all of their animation sequences set up, and a lot of the skins that you would create, the 3D modelers would then build it over the same place. They would have like limitations on where they build it, like where they can map it on the character. So they won't necessarily need to reanimate anything, or they won't need to change too much about their characters. And that's a great way to actually get into like the game industry. I know on Steam there's a lot of places where you can upload your own skins, and you will find yourself having a lot of work if you can get into character skins. And I know a lot of game companies outsource this stuff. They do a lot of it in-house, but I think now it's going to end up being a lot more outsourced, just because of there's great artists all over the place, and some people are just creating great things. And what would be awesome to see is if like one company can outsource lots of different types of people. And what would be cool is if you could create your own skins for games and stuff. I know some games you can do this, but it'll be rad to see more of it in the future. So character skins is a good one to do. Like I maybe could have done different pants on her. I probably should have done a whole bunch more thumbnails. So yeah, it's in your portfolio. It would be rad to see iterations or maybe different skins that a character could have. And mostly as a concept artist, they just want to see like variations. That's like the main thing. They just want to see that you can iterate, that you can think creatively within a limited space. And if you can do that, you will find yourself with a lot of work. But otherwise, I hope you guys like this character design playing in the background. And if you like my artwork, feel free to hit a subscribe or to share it with your friends. And otherwise, I will catch you guys in the next one. Cheers.